Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Canto 4, we are continuing the creation of the fourth order. Chapter 12, Guru Maharaj goes back to Godhead. Okay, can you read? Chant.
Tasyam vishuddhakarana shivavarvidhaya.
Tasyam vishuddhakarana shivavarvidhaya.
Bhaddavasanam jitamarunmanasah hrutakshaha.
Bhaddavasanam jitamarunmanasah hrutakshaha.
Stule dadhara bhagavat pratirupa etad.
Stule dadhara bhagavat pratirupa etad.
Dhyayam sadavyavahito yasrajat samadho.
Dhyayam sadavyavahito yasrajat samadho. In Badrika Ashram, Dhruva Maharaj's senses became completely purified because he bathed regularly in the crystal clear purified water. He fixed his sitting position and by yogic practice controlled the breathing process and the air of life. In this way his senses were completely withdrawn. Then he concentrated his mind on the Archa Vigraha form of the Lord, which is the exact replica of the Lord, and thus meditating upon him entered into complete trance. So this is Astanga Yoga, okay? And he was practicing it at Badrikashram. And he's doing it, generally this kind of practice, you do it alone, no? You don't do it with another person. So Prabhupada is saying about the Archa Vigraha, worship of Archa Vigraha is not idol worship. Archa Vigraha is an incarnation of the Lord in a form appreciable by a devotee. Therefore, devotees engage in the temple in the service of the Lord as Archa Vigraha, a form made of stula material, objects such as stone, metal, wood, jewels, or paint. Anything that is physical representation of the Lord is known as stula. So there is no difference between his Archa Vigraha and the personality of Godhead. So this is like a mercy incarnation so that we can see him and worship him. So that's the difference. Okay, so continuously thinking of the Lord, this is called Samadhi, absorption. That's 18.
Bhaktim harau bhagavati pravahan ajashram.
Bhaktim harau bhagavati pravahan ajashram.
Ananda bhashpakalaya muhurardhai adhyamanaha.
Ananda bhashpakalaya muhurardhyamanaha.
Viklidyamana hridaya pulakachitango.
Viklidyamana hridaya pulakachitango.
Natmanam ashmaradashva iti. Nashmanam ashmaradashva iti muktalingaha.
Natmanam ashmaradashva iti muktalingaha.
Because of his transcendental bliss, incessant tears flowed from his eyes, his heart melted, and there was shivering and standing of hairs all over his body. Thus transformed in a trance of devotional service, Dhruva Maharaj completely forgot his bodily existence, and thus he immediately became liberated from material bondage. So he is in a situation where he is, as it says here, liberated. The Prabhupada says when a devotee completely forgets his bodily existence, he should be understood to be liberated. This is for a devotee, not for any other people who are also in some mental problems or situation. We're not talking about him, we're talking about a devotee. he is no longer engaged in the body. Okay, the body doesn't affect him. He is like liberated already. He's not thinking of the body, he's thinking of his service to Krishna. He's meditating on that. Prabhupada then gives the example, is given that when a coconut becomes completely dry, the coconut pulp within the coconut shell separates from the bondage of the shell and the outer covering. So that is how the devotee is who is liberated. By moving the dry coconut, one can hear that the pulp within is no longer attached to the shell or to the covering. Similarly, when one is fully absorbed in devotion service, he is completely disconnected from the two material coverings, the subtle and gross bodies. Dhruva Maharaj actually attained this stage of life by constantly discharging devotional service. He has already been described as a Maha Bhagavata. For unless one becomes a Maha Bhagavata or a first class pure devotee, these symptoms are not visible. Okay. So the two examples Prabhupada gives is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Thakur Haridas. They both exhibited all of these symptoms. So you can't imitate these symptoms. Alright, tears, shivering, hair constantly standing on end like that. You can't really imitate all these things. So here also another thing in the next paragraph, Prabhupada writes, one more. Of course, from the beginning of devotional service, the path of liberation immediately opens, just as a coconut taken from the tree immediately begins to dry. It simply takes some time for the shell and pulp to separate from one another. So it applies to all of us. As soon as you take devotional service, you are becoming liberated. But it takes time. Okay. Another important word in this verse is Mukta Linga. Mukta means liberated, Linga means the subtle body. When a man dies, he quits the gross body, but the subtle body of mind, intelligence and ego carries him to a new body. While existing in the present body, the same subtle body carries him from one stage of life to another by mental development from childhood to boyhood. The mental condition of a baby is different from that of a boy. The mental condition of a boy is different from that of a young man, and the mental condition of a young man is different from that of an old man. You can see that. Everyone sees the same thing differently, slightly. So at death, the process of changing bodies takes place due to the subtle body. The mind, intelligence and ego carry the soul from one gross body to another. This is called transmigration of the soul. But there is another stage when one becomes liberated from the subtle body. At that time, the living entity is competent and fully prepared to be transferred to the transcendental or spiritual world. So Dhruva Maharaj was ready to go back to the spiritual world. He is no more connected with the material body. Okay. For us, if we are not completed, both the subtle and the gross body will cause us problems. And then he'll carry us to the next body, the subtle body. Prabhupada says, because the gross body has to be continued, the subtle body comes back and settles in the present gross body. Therefore, one is to become free from the subtle body also. This freedom is known as Mukta Linga. Text 19.
Sadadarsha vimanagrayam Nabhaso vatarad dhruvaha Viprajayad dashadisho Rakapatim ivoditam.
As soon as the symptoms of his liberation were manifest, he saw a very beautiful airplane coming down from the sky, as if the brilliant full moon were coming down, illuminating all the 10 directions. So he's seeing the Vaikuntha airplane. It's just coming for him. It's like he has won something and getting his prize. This is just amazing. Anyway, Prabhupada writes, there are different ways or different levels of acquired knowledge. Direct knowledge or knowledge received from authorities. So, from authorities or transcendental knowledge, it comes down. Huh? Yes. But when you try to experiment and try to understand, it is ascending knowledge. So there's descending and ascending. So here he says, when one surpasses the stage of acquiring knowledge by a descending process, he is immediately situated on the transcendental platform. No more. Everything is completed. So therefore there's no more knowledge that is coming descending. So he could see the transcendental airplane. He is totally spiritual. Probably he even gave up the material body already. He's in a spiritual body. The Prabhupada says this is not possible in the stages of direct or indirect perception of knowledge. Such knowledge is a special favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One can, however, rise to this platform of knowledge by the gradual process of advancing in devotion service or Krishna consciousness. So that's why if you are practicing, you cannot just think it's okay, I'm doing okay. It's not enough. You have to come to the stage like Dhruva Maharaj, where you can see the transcendental airplane coming for you. No, otherwise what is the point? Okay, text 20.
Taranudeva pravarau chaturbhujau Shyamau kishorav arunam bhujekshanau Stitav avashtabhya gadam suvasasau Kiritaharang gadacharu kundalau
Dhruva Maharaj, so two very beautiful associates of Lord Vishnu in the plain. They had 4 hands and a blackish bodily lustre. They were very youthful and their eyes were just like reddish lotus flowers. They held clubs in their hands and they were dressed in very attractive garments with helmets and were decorated with necklaces, bracelets and earrings. There's a description of a Vishnu Dutas, all resident of the Vishnu Loka. So they're coming straight from the Vishnu planet. Okay, text 21.
Vignayatavuttamagaya kinkara Abhyuttita sadhavasa vishmrita kramaha Nanama namani grinan madudvishaha Parsha pradhana iti samhatanjalihi
Dhruva Maharaj, seeing that these uncommon personalities were direct servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, immediately stood up. But being puzzled in hastiness, he forgot how to receive them in the proper way. Therefore he simply offered obeisances with folded hands and chanted and glorified the holy names of the Lord. So he was just overwhelmed actually. So even though he could understand, right, who this person was, but he was overwhelmed, so he was puzzled what to do. And so what he did, he simply started chanting the holy names and glorified the Lord like that. So Prabhupada says, simply by chanting the holy name of Lord, the Hare Krishna mantra, he could satisfy the uncommon guests who would all of a sudden arrive before him. The chanting of the holy name of the Lord is perfect. Even though one does not know how to please Lord Vishnu or his associates, simply by sincerely chanting the holy name of the Lord, everything becomes perfect. The devotee, therefore, either in danger or in happiness, constantly chants the Hare Krishna mantra. When he is in danger, he is immediately relieved. And when he is in a position to see Lord Vishnu or his associates directly, by chanting this Maha Mantra, he can please the Lord. This is the absolute nature of the Maha Mantra. Either in danger or in happiness, it can be chanted without limitation. Alright? Therefore, you should always learn to chant in any situation. You don't just have to chant only for chanting time or just 2 hours. You should be chanting whenever you have time. When you're driving, when you're doing anything, even working also you can be chanting. When you're trying to solve some coding problems, you chant.
I try that and it still works.
You try that and it works? It works. So that's like a material thing. No, that's okay.
I'm in anxiety.
Yes.
Sometimes
that's fine. But ultimately we have to chant to please the Supreme Lord.
Tam Krishna padhavinivishtachetasam
Tam Krishna padhavinivishtachetasam
Bhaddhanjalim prashrayanam mrutkandharam
Bhaddhanjalim prashrayanam
Sunandananda upashritya samnitam
Sanananda upashritya samnitam
Pratyujatu Pushkaranabha sammatau
Pratyujatu Pushkaranabha sammatau.
Dhruva Maharaja was always absorbed in thinking of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. His heart was full with Krishna. When the 2 confidential servants of the Supreme Lord, who were named Nanda and Sunanda, approached him, smiling happily, Dhruva stood with folded hands, bowing humbly. They then addressed him as follows. These are very intimate associates of Narayan, Nanda and Sunanda. In this verse, the word Pushkaranabha Sammatau is significant. Krishna, Lord Vishnu, is known for his lotus eyes, lotus navel, lotus feet and lotus palms. Here he is called Pushkaranabha, which means the Supreme Personality of Godhead who has a lotus navel. And Sammatau means 2 confidential or very obedient servants. Prabhupada says the materialistic way of life differs from the spiritual way of life in that one is disobedience and the other is obedience to the will of Supreme Lord. Okay, so we are supposed to always be obedient to the laws, the teachings, the guidance of the Supreme Lord or the order of the Lord. And then we are perfectly in oneness with the Supreme Lord. And that is the main idea, that whatever the Lord wants, sammata, we are always agreeable to the Lord. Okay. So Prabhupada says this human form of life is a chance to be trained to be agreeable to the orders of the Supreme Lord. We'll agree until we disagree. Right? Say, oh, can you chant? Yes, I can chant. Can you do this? Yes, I can do. Then when we ask something we cannot, then we become disagreeable. So what gives then? When we are as we are progressing, our consciousness gets purified, so we are able to give up the attachment to enjoyment, but up to a certain point, because we still have a subtle enjoyment or even some gross level of enjoyment we still attach to. And then when that comes, we don't want to give up. So we will say, well, Krishna don't understand my difficulty. Right? We say that. So often I've heard people say, but I'm suffering, Krishna don't know that I need these things. But that's why you're suffering. Krishna knows and he's making you suffer so that you give it up. So how to come to this point of agreeing all the time? That is what the Hare Krishna movement is all about. So we teach people to chant, teach them how to do service, work together, together so everyone is agreeable. Okay, not one person is disagreeing, everyone is agreeable. Otherwise, we'll have to learn the hard way through the laws of material nature, where she will force us to learn that this is not the right place for us. And finally, then we agree to surrender to Krishna. The example here by Dhruva Maharaj, Prabhupada says, is very fitting. Simply by becoming agreeable to the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and by developing love of Godhead, Dhruva got the chance to personally meet the confidential servants of Lord Vishnu face to face. What was possible for Dhruva Maharaj is possible for everyone. Anyone who very seriously engages in devotion service can obtain in due course of time the same perfection of the human form of life. So you have to be very serious. Next 23.
Sunandananda uchatuha Bho bho rajan subhadram te Vacham no vahita shrunu Yah panchavarshas tapasa Bhavan devam atitrapat
Nanda and Sunanda, two confidential associates of Lord Vishnu, say, Dear King, let there be all good fortune unto you. Please attentively hear what we shall say. When you were only 5 years old, you underwent severe austerities and you thereby greatly satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Prabhupada very happily writes, what was possible for Dhruva Maharaj is possible for anyone. Okay? Any 5-year-old child can be trained, and within a very short time his life will become successful by realization of Krishna consciousness. So why are we unsuccessful?
Not very serious.
Not very serious?
We are
We're
not
not
trained.
trained from 5 years.
Not trained.
Training.
Not trained, eh?
Not properly following.
Not properly following. Okay. No interest actually. Yeah, you can say all the other things, but there's no real interest.
Taste.
Because you don't want to go back to God. Huh?
No taste.
No taste. Taste will only come if you practice.
You take it.
To practice seriously, you must be interested in going back to God.
So what was it that initially attracted us, Prabhu?
Initially, you are attracted to
Something different.
Adau Shraddha, little bit faith we had, but we are not having more than that. We are stuck in that.
Yeah, so you are attracted, not only that, you are attracted to Krishna actually. You saw Krishna. Initially you come, you are attracted to that. But then we do all kinds of nonsense. We commit offenses and so on. So that blocks our progress. You know? So initially the attraction is the devotees. Right? The way they deal with you, the association is very attractive. But then we stagnate. We don't make the necessary serious endeavor to go back to God here. Because due to lack of proper training and knowledge, we tend to use the excuse in our practice that it's okay. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll get serious tomorrow, like that. So then keep pushing it back and back and back like that. So that is a part of our problem. But when we first got attracted, it's the Krishna we see in everyone. Because when devotees are practicing, whoever knew on that is what is attractive for us. But after that, it gets covered because of our association with the material nature and of course other things, offenses and so on, like that. Prabhupada says, unfortunately this training is lacking all over the world. It is necessary for the leaders of Krishna consciousness movement to start educational institutions in different parts of the world to train children, starting at the age of 5 years. Thus such children will not become hippies or spoiled children of society, rather they can all become devotees of the Lord. The face of the world will then change automatically. Right? Because it gets more and more. You start one, then it becomes two, then it becomes four, like that. Exponentially more people will become Krishna conscious, or at least following some rules and regulations.
Tasya kila jagaddathur avam devasya shanginah parshadav iha sampraptau netum tvam bhagavat padam.
We are representatives of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Creator of the whole universe, who carries in his hand the bow named Saranga. You can name your son Saranga. We have been specifically deputed to take you to the spiritual world. So they have been told specifically by the Lord to come and pick him up. So amazing, huh? So like a chauffeur service. Isn't it? That's what it is. The Lord personally will go and bring it. Because it's an etiquette. The etiquette, so welcoming them so gloriously. So this is the way the Vaikuntha Vasis are brought in. It's amazing. Yeah? So if you do so sincerely, you'll find that the Lord's associates will come for us also. You don't have to, be. Sometimes people say, "Oh, you need to be trained in Raga Nuga, this Nuga, that Nuga." Only you saw how he just followed his Guru's instruction. The Lord blessed him, and then the Vaikuntha Vasis came. He was perfect. For us, if we are sincere and we are qualified, the different personalities according to our desire will come, either from Vaikuntha or from Ayodhya or from Mathura, Dwaraka or Goloka. The principal associates of that personality will come, and then they will either tell us you have to do something more extra, follow, or follow them like that. Yeah, it's like so then we are finished with this world, unless the Lord say, okay, now you go and save other people. And then you can come as a pure devotee, as a Nitya Siddha. So you can see, because he followed so nicely, he became fit. Huh?
So I heard that when we are taking, when our sadhana is perfect now, so we will take part in another Bhumi or
It depends on your desire. It all depends. Not that for sure, But in general, it is said in those who are in Gaudiya Vaishnava, we go to Goloka. So, but before you go there, you get trained in another universe. So you take a birth in the womb of a gopi in another universe where Krishna is having his pastimes. Then you get trained, perfection, then you go.
You can directly see Krishna.
Yes, you have to
Play with him.
play with him and do all those things. Yeah.
So that is applicable only in the context of Goloka destination.
That is for Goloka destination.
Vaikuntha Vasis, the pattern perfection.
Yes, it's a limousine service. Vaikuntha limousine service.
Same thing happened for
Chartered flight.
Huh?
Same thing happened in Saint Tukaram.
You went?
No,
Tukaram.
Saint
Oh.
Tukaram. Like same plane came.
Saint Tukaram. Oh, sorry, I couldn't hear. Sorry. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that same
people saw
devotee-
in his
People
village
also saw.
So
actually.
they go to Vaikuntha. Like
Hmm?
limousine means that service goes to Vaikuntha. So it's hard to say
No
which
stops.
plane came from which planet.
You don't need to know, you know.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Once you are,
Okay.
that's like a Westerner, when he sees all Indians, he'll say they all look alike.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
but you know who is who. So similarly, when the plane comes, you will know which plane is taking me. Where am I destined?
All the Chinese look
Same thing.
The funny thing was one Korean lady, she didn't grow up in a Korean neighborhood. She grew up in America.
Yeah.
And she said, I don't know why people say they all look alike. And then when she went for a Korean festival, she said, actually everyone looks alike. She herself said that.
Well, she's more American culturally, so she talks like that.
She said, they all look alike. I can't make out where to go.
Sudurjayam Vishnupadam jitam tvaya
Sudurjayam Vishnupadam jitam tvaya
Yatsorayo prapya vichakshate param
Yasurayo pravya vichakshate param
Adishtatat chandra divakaradayo
Adishtatat chandra divakaradayo
Grahakshataaraha pariyanti dakshinam
To achieve Vishnu Loka is very difficult. But by austerity you have conquered. Even the great rishis and demigods cannot achieve this position. Simply to see the supreme abode, the Vishnu planet, the sun and moon and all the other planets, stars, lunar mansions and solar systems are circumambulating it. Now please come, you're welcome to go there. So they're going to take him to Dhruva Lokas, the planet of where Krishna Garbha is, within this material universe. So Prabhupada writes, the Krishna consciousness movement is so potent that by adopting these principles of life and developing love of God, one can very easily go back home, back to Godhead. Here the practical example is the case of Dhruva Maharaj. While the scientist and philosopher go to the moon but are disappointed in their attempts to stay there and live, the devotee makes an easy journey to other planets and ultimately goes back to Godhead. Devotees have no interest in seeing other planets, but while going back to Godhead, they see all of them as passing phases. Just as one who's going to a distant place passes through many small stations. Yeah, but they are not attracted to it at all because they are pure devotees. Sometimes you hear devotees say, oh, when you're going back, you'll see all the different planets and you may get attracted. But when the Vaikuntha plane comes, you're no more in that level, you know. Text 26.
Anastitam te pitrabhir
Anastitam te pitrabhir
Anyair api angakarhichit
Anyair api angakarhichit
Adishta jagatam vandhyam
Adishta jagatam vandhyam
Tad-Vishno paramam padam
Tad-Vishno paramam padam.
Dear King Dhruva, neither your forefathers nor anyone else before you ever achieved such a transcendental planet, which means many of them have achieved a transcendental planet. The planet known as Vishnu Loka, where Lord Vishnu personally resides, is the highest of all. It is worshipable by the inhabitants of all other planets within the universe. Please come with us and live there eternally. Yeah. Prabhupada writes in the middle, the transcendental planet known as Vishnu Loka is especially meant for devotees, not for karmis, jnanis or yogis. Great rishis or demigods can hardly approach Brahma Loka, and as stated in Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Loka is not a permanent residence. Lord Brahma's duration of life is so long that it's difficult to estimate even the duration of one day in his life. And yet Lord Brahma also dies, as do the residents of this planet. Okay. And then later on Prabhupada says, material scientists are attempting to go to the moon and other planets, but they cannot imagine going to the topmost planet, Brahmaloka, what is beyond their imagination. By material calculation, travelling at the speed of light, it would take 40,000 light years to reach the topmost planet. By mechanical processes, we are unable to reach the topmost planet of this universe, but the process called Bhakti Yoga, as executed by Maharaj Dhruva, can give one the facility not only to reach other planets within this universe, but also to reach beyond this universe to the Vishnu Loka planets. Then he says, we have outlined this in our small booklet, Easy Journey to Other Planets. He says that twice, once in a sentence, now as a book. Text 27.
एतद्विमानप्रवरम् उत्तमश्लोकमौलिनाम् उपस्थापितम् आयुष्मन् अधिरोधुं त्वमर्हसि
O immortal one, this unique airplane has been sent by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is worshipped by selected praise and who is the chief of all living entities. You are quite worthy to board such a plane. It's a very nice way of asking him to get on the plane. Nowadays they don't, they treat you bad to board a plane. You must have first class ticket, second class. This is transcendental ticket. Prabhupada also talks about another planet called Shishumara, where Lord Vishnu, who is in charge of the maintenance of this material world, resides. Shishumara, or Dhruvaloka, can never be reached by anyone but the Vaishnavas. The associates of Lord Vishnu brought this special airplane for Dhruva Maharaj and then informed him that Lord Vishnu had especially sent this airplane. Then Prabhupada talks about the technology. He says the Vaikuntha airplane does not move by a mechanical arrangement. There are three processes for moving in outer space. One of the processes is known to the modern scientists. It is called Kapota Vayu. Ka means outer space and Pota means ship. There's a second process also called Kapota Vayu. Kapota means pigeon. One can train pigeons to carry one into outer space. So now everyone going to buy pigeons. It's interesting, huh? Pigeons can fly out of space. The third process is very subtle. It is called Akasha Patana. This Akasha Patana system is also material. Just as the mind can fly anywhere one likes without mechanical arrangement. So the Akasha Patana airplane can fly at the speed of mind. Beyond this Akasha Patana,
मधुच्युतं वाचमुरुक्रमप्रियः अभिषेककृतनित्यमङ्गलो मुनीन् प्रणम्याशिषम् अभ्यवादयत्.
great sage Maitreya continued. Maharaj Dhruva was very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When he heard the sweet speeches of the Lord's chief associates in the Vaikuntha planet, he immediately took his sacred bath, dressed himself with suitable ornaments and performed his daily spiritual duties. Thereafter he offered his respectful obeisances to the great sages present there and accepted their blessings.
So he still didn't give up his material body, right?
Not quite yet.
But the body becomes
No, but it
spiritual.
becomes spiritual.
It is spiritual. But still, when he leaves this planet, what is it? Office. Of you to fix things.
Last he writes, he did not become puffed up because the aeroplane sent by the Lord Vishnu was waiting for him. As a humble Vaishnava, he accepted blessings from all the sages. Before riding on the plane.
It's kind of humorous. Text 29. Yeah.
Parityāmayatya Vishnyangriyam Parshadav Abhivandaya cha Yashatat Adishtatum Vipradrupam Hiranmayam.
Before getting aboard, Dhruva Maharaj worshipped the airplane, circumambulated it, and also offered obeisances to the associates of Vishnu. In the meantime, he became as brilliant and illuminating as molten gold. So he's changing, na? He was thus completely prepared to board the transcendental plane. So, in the absolute world, or in the spiritual side, the plane, the associates of Lord Vishnu and Lord Vishnu himself are all spiritual. There is no material contamination. In quality, everything there is one. As Lord Vishnu is worshipable, so also his associates, his paraphernalia, his airplane and his abode. But everything of Vishnu's is as good as Lord Vishnu. Dhruva Maharaj knew all this very well as a pure Vaishnava, and he offered his respects to the associates and to the plane before riding in it. But in the meantime, his body changed into spiritual existence. Dun, dun, dun. Right? Now you know what happened. Yes, his body was spiritual still, because it was always used in the service. But to go to the spiritual world, he has to still leave aside. Yeah.
The body made of material elements.
Yes, that has to be left behind.
Prabhu, what happens to the mind and the intelligence?
It's gone.
It's already gone.
Gone. No more.
So there is just the intelligence that is the soul.
Yes,
Pure
intelligence
spiritual
is everything. It's a mind, everything is the intelligence now. Yeah. This is soul. I mean, yeah.
There is no spiritual intelligence, spiritual mind.
It's all in the soul.
No.
Soul is full.
Yeah, everything is in the soul. You don't need the material mind, material intelligence, no more. It's all one now.
Purna.
Yes.
So
Yes.
when the yogis travel to other planets,
Yes.
okay, but that is still in the material universe.
They
Yeah.
carry their material mind.
Because I was reading that Prabhupada wrote down in one place that they place their mind and intelligence within the air that is circulating in the body.
Prana.
Then they mix that with the universal air, and just like how the radio waves can transport very fast, they also. But then, okay, that is, but they're still in the universe.
They're still in the material.
That's why the mind and intelligence. Then based on that, they get another body.
Yes. Unless they are devotees, they cannot get out of this material universe.
But amazing, Prabhu, how they place the mind and intelligence in the.
Yeah, that's a technology you don't know.
It's too subtle for
Yeah.
gross person like us.
Yes. So when you do this yoga, the pranayama and all, this knowledge will be revealed to you. How to mix it and then travel.
Go on the light of path.
Yeah. Then that's why it's called, when you sacrifice, you get knowledge. Right? Transcendental knowledge. So this is all transcendental knowledge.
So
According to where you want to go, the transcendental knowledge can help you. And beyond also it can help you. Yeah.
So then when they get the new body, when they go to the new place, it's based on the mind and intelligence.
Yes.
Or they can get the same body. They can do, because they have the same.
Yogis can do that. Yeah. But generally if they go to another place, they might give it up and take another type of body.
Depending on the place.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Alright, so we were reading about Brahmaloka, right? So you were asking the question Brahmaloka, right?
Yes.
So Brahmaloka is Brahma's Loka. Sometimes it is known also as Satyaloka. Okay. Now there is Brahmaloka also outside of the Vaikuntha planets are also known as Brahmaloka. So you have to know which
Where the reference.
the reference point is. Whether are they referring to the spiritual Brahmaloka or the planet of Brahma.
But
Brahman
Brahmaloka
Loka.
is not Brahman effulgence?
No, no, no.
I'll look that up, I read something like that.
Hmm.
At least I understood it like that.
Brahman Loka and Brahma Loka.
But then who is there in Brahmaloka, Prabhu? If it is not...
It's another name of a planet, no?
But there Brahma is
Spiritual.
not there.
Why must be Brahman? Why can't be a Vishnu?
Okay.
Yeah. It's just a name of a planet.
Like Vaikuntha planet.
Yeah, it's another name of a Vaikuntha planet. It's like this planet is known as Shishumara, Vishnu Loka, or Dhruva Loka. The same name but different names according to who is residing in it.
Prabhu, it's also said that devotees of Bhakta automatically gets all the mysticism.
Yes.
So can a devotee of Bhakta also transport himself from...
Yes, he can. He can.
doesn't want to.
But he won't want to use those things.
Doesn't want.
He don't need those things. He's not into those. All the opulences of the material thing automatically comes to him easily. But he doesn't, he's not interested in that. He's only interested in serving the Lord.
And they come because he will not manipulate it for some other things also.
It's like a gift, Just like there is a word, right? Both liberation and yes, and the material bhukti is outside waiting to give him, but he doesn't need it anymore. He's beyond that. Yeah.
All this that he sees this as temptation.
Hmm?
All these things the pure devotee sees as a temptation. Hence he
Yeah.
doesn't- he
Yeah, you
doesn't
can
see
say
any
that.
relevance in the service of Krishna.
He's not interested in them anymore. It means also that the Lord accepts him, that he can use it if he wants to, but he is not interested. Right? It's available for his use, but he is not attached to it anymore. It's like, yeah, sure, okay.
So he is aware of his potency.
Yes.
He has mysticism.
There is some pastor in Chaitanya Leela also. There is one great follower, associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That people were thinking, the Vaishnavas
Don't have magic.
don't have magic, but then one time
Rasikananda Prabhu.
Rasikananda
He
Prabhu.
flied on a
Yeah,
stick.
so he, stick. So when this disciple came, or came into the room inside the house, the devotee Rasikananda.
Rasikananda.
So he was flying on a stick.
Harry Potter learned from
Well, it's in
Then do
the
it. It's
Krishna book. You read, Prabhupada explains how Putana, there are witches
Yeah.
who use the branch of a tree
To fly.
to fly, cage cherries.
Harry
Right?
Potter
Yes,
uses
yes.
broomstick.
No?
Harry Potter uses broomstick.
Yeah, but then from there, right? The stick, the branch.
Same idea.
Same idea. You can chop a branch with the back like that, so people think it's like a broomstick.
No, and also many comics and all when we were young, we used to
Yeah,
read
yeah.
the witch will fly on the broomstick.
Yeah, because that is what they understand. They think that is broomstick, but it's actually a branch.
No, and this is more like Western.
Western,
Stuff.
yeah, they concoct, they don't know, so they make it into a branch, broom.
We talk like Harry Potter is real. I mean,
Nice.
the way you're saying, you just
Comparing.
say.
A lot of people in the planet think like that.
Harry Potter.
Majority mothers.
I have not seen.
Does it include
In
Krishna
high
Chaitanya?
school, they had Harry Potter club.
He
Hmm?
does
They
not.
don't.
I've just heard the name.
I read when I was.
I got the reference, Prabhu.
What reference?
It says the transcendental region of that effulgence is, okay, I'll just read it properly. Outside of Vaikuntha, the abode of Krishna, which is called Paravyoma, is the glaring effulgence of Krishna's bodily rays.
Yeah,
This is called the Brahma Jyoti.
yes.
The transcendental region of that effulgence is called Siddhaloka or Brahmaloka.
Yeah. That's Krishna's plan.
No?
That is Krishna's plan. It's coming from Siddhaloka, Brahmaloka. The effulgence.
Okay. So where
When
Krishna resides.
impersonalists achieve liberation, they merge into that Brahmaloka effulgence. So this is outside, as you said.
Outside.
So then that's what I was thinking. So then when they merge in the effulgence, is it like a planet without
No.
spiritual variegatedness, or that just that region is
This-
called a loka?
Yeah, all that Brahma Jyoti.
Siddhaloka or Brahmaloka or the effulgence.
No, off the planet, Siddhaloka and Brahmaloka.
They are not planets, but there's just effulgence.
The effulgence of the planet
Effulgence of the Vaikuntha planets.
is what is referred to as Siddhaloka
Or
Brahmaloka.
Brahmaloka.
Yes.
That's a Brahmajyoti saint.
No. No, I'm saying the effulgence is coming from Siddhaloka or Brahmaloka. That's how I understood it.
Brahmajyoti is coming from Siddhaloka or
Yes.
from
I'll also understand it the way you're telling Prabhu because I can't understand.
Where's the reference?
This is from CC Adi 534
534.
where he's
Okay.
describing Nityananda.
Later I'll look at it. Okay. Text 30.
तदोत्तानपादः पुत्रो ददर्शान्तकमागतम् मृत्योर्मूर्ध्नि पदं दत्त्वा आरुरोहद्भुतं गृहम्.
When Dhruva Maharaja was attempting to get on the transcendental plane, he saw death personified approach him. Not caring for death, however, he took advantage of the opportunity to put his feet on the head of death. And thus he got up on the airplane, which was as big as a house. Big airplane. First class. Prabhupada writes, to take the passing away of a devotee and the passing away of a non-devotee as one and the same is completely misleading. So, while ascending the transcendental airplane, Dhruva Maharaj suddenly saw death personified before him, but he was not afraid. Instead of death's giving him trouble, Dhruva Maharaj took advantage of death's presence and put his feet on the head of death. People with a poor fund of knowledge do not know the difference between the death of a devotee and the death of a non-devotee. In this connection, an example can be given. A cat carries its kittens in its mouth and it also catches a rat in its mouth. Superficially, the catching of the rat and the kitten appear to be one and the same, but actually they are not. When the cat catches the rat in its mouth, it means death for the rat. Whereas when the cat catches the kitten enjoys it. So actually what happened was the death personified came to offer him obeisances. He gave him blessing. I was thinking also, I was interested at first why, and then now Prabhupada actually makes sense. He came to offer his obeisances. So
But
then
personified is who, Prabhu?
Who?
death?
Is it Yama?
No,
No,
Because he will not step on
yeah.
the head.
Yamaraj is a Mahajan.
It's a time
Maybe it was his own death personified.
Not no. There is personification of death itself, but not Yamaraj.
So that's Krishna too. He says
Yamaraj is a
time.
lot of death.
Yeah, he's a lot of it.
Huh?
That symbolizes.
No.
He will not step on Yamaraj.
Yeah, that's what I
Yamaraj
also.
is a devotee.
I didn't see it as
Yamaraj is a devotee.
Oh, he's looking for blessing, right? We can find out. See who that is.
Dust of the lotus feet of pure devotee.
Yeah. But Yamaraj himself is a Mahajan. He's already.
He's already pure.
Yeah. Material scientists are not even perfect in manufacturing a material airplane. In order to compare to the plane used by Kardama or the plane sent from Vishnu Loka, they must manufacture an airplane equipped like a big city, with all the comforts of life, lakes, gardens, parks, etc. The plane must be able to fly in outer space and hover and visit all other planets. If they invent such a plane, they will not have to make different space stations for fuel to travel into outer space. Such a plane would have an unlimited supply of fuel, or like the plane from Vishnu Loka would fly without it. So this is how the scientists are trying to go to other planets, but they cannot because they are always short of fuel. So they try to see if they can break the atom to create fuel, right? Fusion and fission. It's 31.
Tada dundubhayo nedur mridanga panavadayaha Gandarvamukhya prajaguhu Pedu kusuma vrishtayaha
At that time, drums and cattle drums resounded from the sky. The chief Gandharvas began to sing, and other demigods showered flowers like torrents of rain upon Dhruva Maharaj. 32.
Sachaswarlokam arokshyam Sunitim jananim dhruvaha Anvasmarad agam hitva Dinam yasye trivishtabam
Dhruva was seated in the transcendental airplane which was just about to start when he remembered his poor mother, Suniti. He thought to himself, how shall I go alone to Vaikuntha planet and leave behind my poor mother? So Prabhupada writes, Dhruva had a feeling of obligation to his mother, Suniti. It was Suniti who had given him the clue which had now enabled him to be personally carried to the Vaikuntha planet by the associates of Lord Vishnu. He now remembered her and wanted to take her with him. Actually, Dhruva Maharaj's mother Suniti was his Patha Pradashaka Guru. Patha Pradashaka Guru means the Guru or the spiritual master who shows the way. Such a Guru is sometimes called Shiksha Guru. Although Narada Muni was his Diksha Guru, initiating spiritual master, Suniti, his mother, was the first who gave him instruction on how to achieve the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is the duty of the Shiksha Guru or the Diksha Guru to instruct the disciple in the right way, and it depends on the disciple to execute the process. According to Shastric injunctions, there is no difference between Shiksha Guru and Diksha Guru, and generally the Shiksha Guru later on becomes the Diksha Guru. Suniti, however, being a woman and specifically his mother, could not become Dhruva Maharaja's Diksha Guru. Still, he was not less obliged to Suniti. There was no question of carrying Narada Muni to Vaikuntha Loka, but Dhruva Maharaj thought of his mother, because he's already Vaikunthavasi, so you don't need to do that. But this is very nice.
So this doesn't seem like attachment, it's like obligation. He removed
Yeah,
for his
for his
guru.
guru. Because she gave him the and this is more, yes, this is gratitude. So something we all should practice, gratitude, For whoever helped us in our spiritual path, we should be grateful to them, spiritual master, whoever your Shiksha Guru. Always the gratitude should be there. Okay?
Looks like Prabhupada's commenting on VD. Vaishnavi Diksha Guru.
Vaishnava?
Vaishnavi Diksha Guru.
Oh, I saw that. I'm not going to get into it. Okay?
Prabhupada is giving.
He said very clearly.
Yeah, but I let the GVC do whatever they want. It wouldn't bother me at all whether they make a woman a Diksha Guru or not. It's not my place to comment on all this. If it is, so be it. Right? Life goes on. We have to become Krishna conscious, go back. Still. Right? It doesn't matter who
doesn't change that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why for me it's all these are secondary things for me. It's not a primary thing that's going to affect my Krishna consciousness. No, it's not. So that you have to think like that. So don't get caught up in all this. Sometimes Krishna puts all these blocks to see whether we get trapped or not. So don't get hop on all these things. It's like when he left after the war between the Yadu dynasty, members of the Yadu dynasty, he left behind a body. So for people who said he's a materialist, they will say, oh, he left his body. like that. So they get caught up with that. So he's not Supreme Lord like that. So it's like that. So all these are just, hindrances in our Krishna consciousness. So there are so many people now fighting about that. What for? Right? An intelligent person will think, let this guy solve it. I will go on my way.
So other than GPC, other people also fighting?
Oh, so many people.